Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Welcome to the glorification of Srīmad Bhāgavatam. We are reading from Canto 1, the creation, chapter 19, the appearance of Śukadeva Gosvāmī. And we are, today we will discuss verse 9 and 10 of this chapter. So, Prabhu, can we please have the verses on screen? Verse 9 and verse 10. Atri Vashishta Chavana Sharadvan Harekrishnatemple Parasharogadhisutathareram Utthaya Indra Pramadam Eva Utthaya Indra Pramademeva Vaho Medhatithirdeval Ashtireno Bharadvajo Gautamapi Palada Matreyorva Kavasha Kumbhayoni Dvaipayano Bhagavana Naradascha. Synonyms: Atri, to Narada, all the names of the different saintly personalities who arrived there from different parts of the universe. Translation: from the different parts of universe there arrived great sages like Atri, Chavana, Sharadvan, Arishtanemi, Bhrigu, Vashishtha, Parashar, Vishwamitra, Angira, Parshuram, Utathya, Indra Pramad, Idmavahu, Medatithi, Devala, Arishtasena, Bharadvaj, Gautama, Pipalad, Maitreya, Aurva, Kashava, Kavasha, Kumbhayoni, Dvaipayana, and the great personality Narad. Would anyone like to read the purport, please? Okay. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Chavana, a great sage and one of the sons of Bhrigumuni. He was born prematurely when the pregnant mother was kidnapped. Chavana is one of the 6 sons of his father. Bhrigu, when Brahmaji was performing a great sacrifice on behalf of Varuna, Maharshi Bhrigu was born from the sacrificial fire. He was a great sage and his very dear wife was Puloma. He could travel the space like Durvasa, Narad, and others. He used to visit all the planets of universe. Before the battle of Kurukshetra, he tried to stop the battle. Sometimes he instructed Bharadvaj Muni about astronomical evolution. And he is the author of Great Bhrigu Samhita, the great astrological calculation. He explained how air, fire, water, and earth are generated from ether. He explained how the air in the stomach works and regulates the intestines. As a great philosopher, he logically established the eternity of the living entity, Mahabharata. He was also a great anthropologist, and the theory of evolution was long ago explained by him. He was a scientific propounder of 4 divisions and orders of human society known as Varnashram institution. He converted the Kshatriya king Vithavya into a Brahmana. Vashishtha, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.9.6. Parashar. He is the grandson of Vasishtha Muni and the father of Vyasadeva. He is the son of Maharshi Shakti, and his mother's name was Adrashati. He was in the womb of his mother, and she was only 12 years old. And from within the womb of his mother, he learned Vedas. His father was killed by a demon, Kalmashapada. And to avenge this, he wanted to annihilate the whole world. He was restrained, however, by his grandfather Vasishtha. He then performed Rakshasa killing yagna, but Maharaj Pulatsya restrained him. He begot Vyasadeva, being attracted by Satyavati, who was to become the wife of Maharaj Shantanu. By the blessing of Parashar, Satyavati became fragrant for miles. He was present also during the time of Bhishma's state. He was the spiritual master of Maharaj Janak, and he was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. He is the author of many Vedic scriptures and sociological directions. Gadisuta or Vishwamitra, a great sage of austerity and mystic power. He is famous as Gadisuta because his father was Gadi, the powerful king of the province of Kanyakabuja, the part of Uttar Pradesh. Although he was Kshatriya by birth, he became Brahmana in the very same body of the spiritual achievements. He picked a quarrel with Vasishtha Muni when he was a Kshatriya king and performed great sacrifice in cooperation with Matanga Muni, and thus was able to vanquish the sons of Vasishtha. He became a great yogi and yet failed to check the senses, and thus was obliged to become the father of Shakuntala, the beauty queen of the world history. Once he was a Kshatriya king, he visited hermitage of Vasishtha Muni and he was given a royal reception. Vishwamitra wanted from Vasishtha a cow named Nandini, and the Muni refused to deliver it. Vishwamitra stole the cow, and thus there was a quarrel between the sage and the king. Vishwamitra was defeated by the spiritual strength of Vasishtha, and thus the king decided to become Brahmana. Before becoming a Brahmana, he underwent severe austerity on the bank of Kaushika, and he was also one who tried to stop the Kurukshetra war. Angira. He is one of the 6 mental sons of Brahma and the father of Brihaspati, the great learned priest of demigods in the heavenly planets. He was born of the semen of Brahmaji given to a cinder of fire. Utatya and Samvarta are his sons. It is said that he is still performing austerity and chanting the holy name of the Lord at the place known Alokananda on the banks of Ganges. Parshuram, Srimad Bhāgavatam 1.9.6. Udatya, one of the 3 sons of Maharshi Angira, he was the spiritual master of Maharaj Mandhata. He married Bhadra, the daughter of Soma, Moon. Varuna kidnapped his wife Bhadra, and to retaliate the offense of the god of water, he drank all the water of the world. Medatithi, an old sage of yore, an assembly member of the heavenly king Indradev. His son was Kanva Muni, who brought up Shakuntala in the forest. He was promoted to the heavenly planet by strictly following the principles of the retired life, Vanuprastha. Devala, a great authority like Narad Muni and Vyasadeva, his good name is on the list of the authorities mentioned in Bhagavad Gita when Arjun acknowledged Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He met Maharaj Yudhishthir after the battle of Kurukshetra, and he was the elder brother of Dhaumya, the priest of the Pandava family. Like Kshatriyas, he also allowed his daughter to select her own husband in Swayamvara meeting, and at the ceremony, all the bachelor sons of the rishis were invited. According to some, he is not Asita Devala. Bharadwaj, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.9.6. Gautama, one of the great sages of the universe. Sharadvan Gautama is one of his sons. Persons in Gautama Gotra dynasty today either his family descendant or in his disciplic succession. The Brahmana who profess Gautama Gotra are generally descendants, and Kshatriya and Vaishyas who profess Gautama Gotra are still in line of his disciplic succession. He was the husband of the famous Ahalya, who turned into stone when Indradev, the king of heaven, molested her. Ahalya was delivered by Lord Ramachandra. Gautama was the grandfather of Kripacharya, one of the heroes of the battle of Kurukshetra. Maitreya, a great rishi of yore. He was the spiritual master of Vidura and great religious authority. He advised Dhritarashtra to keep good relation with Pandava. Duryodhana disagreed, and thus he was cursed by him. He met Vyasdev and had religious discourse with him. Bhaktivedanta Purport ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So, in this chapter, so far we have seen that Maharaj Parikshit got cursed by Shringi, and from the very beginning or very first verse of this chapter, Parikshit Maharaj actually starts reflecting upon his act. Upon his act, which is what? He put the dead snake around the neck of Shramak Rishi, and he feels great distress and repentance. He expects some calamities as a punishment so that he never makes such mistake. And while repenting, he receives the news of curse. He took that as a good news, and then he accepted that curse, sat on a bank of Ganga with a vow not to eat, because he knew that the devotional service is the highest goal of life. Then Ganga, being a sacred river, it's the perfect place to leave one's body. He accepts to fast till death. And the news of Maharaj Parikshit, determination to fast until death, then it was spreaded across all the universes. And the sages from all different parts of the world, on the plea of visiting the holy place, arrived at the bank of Ganges. And that was up till there yesterday. And yesterday's verse actually also talks about it. Actually their intention is to meet Maharaj Parikshit because they could foresee that Srimad Bhagavatam is going to be spoken for the first time. And now in this purport, Prabhupada actually elaborates on, there were so many personalities that were gathered. Sutta Gosvāmī was, of course, one of them, who is narrating Srimad Bhagavatam Nam to the sages of Naimisharanya. And Prabhupada elaborates on some of these personalities in this purport. So, few things that I intend to discuss today, Krishna willing and time permitting. First is that this is not the first time that many glorious personalities gathered at the place when a devotee departs this world. Example, Bhishmadev. We saw in the 9th chapter of this canto that so many great personalities actually gathered at that arena also. So why is that? Another thing we would like to discuss is about the specifics of Maharaj Parikshit departure. And then the last thing is, what can we learn from this pastime? So why is so that so many glorious personalities gathered at the place where a devotee departs the world? And the first reason is to honor great devotee. The primary reason is for gathering all these sages is to pay homages and to show respect to the departing soul. Maharaj Parikshit, and when I read the purport, the first example that came in my mind was Bhishmadev, and of course it was slightly different arena, but all these great glorious personalities were there also. Then my chain of thought went in that way only. So Maharaj Parikshit and Bhishmadev, they were not ordinary kings. They were both Mahajans. They were great authorities in the devotional science of devotional service, exalted devotee of Lord Krishna, and their life were the perfect examples for the generations to come. Their departure from this world is the perfect example of the surrender and the dedication. And hence once such devotee departs, the gathering of such saintly people from across the universe is actually the testimony of an honor to a pure devotee. Another reason which was mentioned in the previous verse, that is to actually participate is to actually hear and participate in the glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam, because and actually also glorification of the devotee departing. So the final moments of the great devotees, are intensely powerful. We hear in many disappearance day homages programs that when, of course, that appearance of devotee is glorious, but when they depart the world, it is more glorious, because throughout their life of their throughout their life, they have done intensely powerful spiritually surcharged activity that is an inspiration for so many people like us. And when they depart, they depart in the thoughts which are completely absorbed in the thoughts of Lord, basically. And the example here we see Bhishma Dev, Parikshit Maharaj, Prabhupada, and so many spiritual masters. Example of Maharaj Parikshit, he was about to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, and descent of Srimad Bhagavatam in itself is a monumental spiritual event. First time it will be recited, and the sages gathered that they knew that the topics of Krishna in the association of such exalted personality is the highest perfection of life. So they also want to take the advantage of hearing about. They also want to take the advantage to hear about the topics of Lord. When Bhishma Dev actually departed, Lord Krishna was present. Lord Krishna was present on the arena, and his Bhishma Dev's final prayers, they are beautiful instructions. So they were beautiful instructions for people like us. So the assembled personalities, in both situations, actually they get to hear this profound instruction, and they get to witness the departure of a soul who was completely absorbed at the time of leaving this world. And that is not an ordinary event. Another reason why such personality gather is, again, it was discussed in yesterday's verse, that holy places are, or tirtha are actually created where the devotees are. And the passing away of a great soul transforms the environment with so much spiritual potency. And now Parikshit Maharaj, Śukadeva Gosvāmī, Narad Muni, all of them are present here. Uh, they sanctify the place itself. And being present at such event, it is spiritually purifying. And of course, they, regardless of these personalities are of course very high in their stature, but regardless of their stature, association of pure devotees, sadhu sangha, is always powerful. And we experience that, when we are in the Sankirtan or some kirtan, at the temple or anywhere, the environment is spiritually so surcharged. Sometimes it feels that how, it can be any better. It can't go any better. This reminds me of an incident. We were in Vrindavan in Kartik few years back, and at that time there was an eclipse. So all the temples, everything was closed outside, and at the Krishna Balram temple, His Holiness Kadam Kanan Maharaj was going to do kirtan. And that kirtan went for nearly 2-3 hours, and it was like Maharaj is in spiritual world. It is like he is so wanting all of us present there to take us to spiritual. It was that much, the spiritual energy, the potency of Maharaj, the potency of the devotee that gathered at the place. And of course, Vrindavan Dham is Krishna's abode, so it has its own spiritual potency. But the environment is so spiritually uplifting that it feels it can't get any better. If the spiritual world to exist, then this is how it should be. This is how it could be. So when we hear when we hear such description and when we have such experience, we can relate to it basically. And the another reason is that they all gather is to teach a lesson. It's an example for us to demonstrate to demonstrate the importance of remembering the Lord at the time of departure, at the time of death, which is the culmination of life, culmination of any spiritual practice. Antakale cha mameva. So, in summary, gathering of all great personalities at an event like this is, of course, it is union for of a respect, to pay the homages to the departing soul, longing to hear about Krishna, desire of a spiritual association, associate with other devotees, and setting examples for spiritual seekers, for a people, for generations. Now, in Parikshit Maharaj's case, it was not an ordinary event. We have already talked about it. That identity, and by identifying each sage or a demigod, or by elaborating on some of the sage and demigods, actually Prabhupada demonstrates that the spectators that were gathered at the place of Ganges, they were also not ordinary random spectators. They were, in fact, the greatest authority. So basically, it brings an appreciation, feeling of appreciation within the mind of reader, within us, that event is not ordinary, and the spectators that were gathered there, they were also not ordinary. So it was an extraordinary event. So we actually appreciate the event. We can appreciate the event a lot more. For example, Prabhupada talks about Bhrigu Muni in the purport. Now, he could, before, till I read the purport, I didn't know that Bhrigu Muni could also travel through the universe like Narad Muni. And then he gave Bhrigu Samhita. Yes, we have heard for this, that book that reveals information about past, present, future, and astrological calculation. Prabhupada talks about that in the purport. Prabhupada says description of Prabhupada is not mentioned in the purport. It is referenced in the purport of 1.9.6. But Parshuram is the incarnation of a Lord himself. He was present at the assembly. Vishwamitra, he performed so much austerity so that he could become Brahmana from Kshatriya in the same body, which is not possible in ordinary sense. Another very important observation is that in the assembly there was Śukadeva Gosvāmī. Śukadeva Gosvāmī has not come yet, but he will. There was Vyasadeva and there was Narad Muni. So Śukadeva Goswami's guru is Vyasadeva and Vyasadeva guru is Narad Muni. So the entire that Guru Parampara is there, and generally when the Guru Parampara is there, what happens is the higher spiritual authority speak in the assembly. But here Śukadeva Goswami is going to speak. So that is also, that means Śukadeva Goswami is very pure soul. And that is also not, an ordinary phenomena. It is extraordinary event. And when we hear the descriptions like this, it automatically elevates the importance of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, and it automatically gives us the emphasis of witnessing a departure of such pure devotee. And we develop the feeling that, okay, in this world no one wants to talk about death. No one wants to hear about that. And as we join ISKCON, what we are taught from the very beginning is that preparing for the death. And then examples like Maharaj Parikshit or Bhismadev, they teaches us how to depart. Standards are very high, I understand, but at least it puts things into perspective. At least we are made aware that how to depart. Otherwise, we wouldn't have known. We don't want to even discuss about these things. And that is the reality of that life, because what we purpose of human life is, till we start learning the scriptures, we don't know that the purpose of human life is not to reduce the suffering and not to maximize the prosperity or enjoyment. It is actually brahmacharyasa. And by hearing the philosophy and seeing through the examples, we learn that. If we compare the assembly of sages like that in the present days, it could be like, it's very mundane comparison, but it could be like G20 summit that happens, where all over the world of the leaders of the world, they gather to discuss the world issue. Of course, the intent of such meeting is to resolve the problem on the material level. Here it is the reason for gathering is to hear the topics about Krishna, is to associate with the devotees, is to glorify the pure devotee who is about to depart the world. So of course the purpose is completely different, but just as the mundane comparison. Even mundane comparison is wedding that happened at Ambani's. All the possible famous personalities were there for the purpose of enjoyment. So, and the thing is, when things like that happens, it comes in the news, and we want to hear that. We want to derive some pleasure in discussing things, but the actual pleasure can be derived when there are topics of Krishnas are discussed, and that is what going to happen on the banks of Ganges. So then when events like this happen, as I said, it brings so much wisdom to us, and it is actually a great mercy of Srila Prabhupada who brought this wisdom to us. Otherwise, what were the chances? Yadi Prabhupada na hoito, tabe ki hoito. What will happen? And from Parikshit Maharaj's life, there are few lessons that we can learn, and I may go over time for 3 or 4 minutes. Please forgive me. So, sorry. Yes, so from Parikshit Maharaj's example, what can we see? We can see that Keshav Maharaj actually talks that, suffering, or we have the mentality that the suffering or obstacle are actually dependent on 3 things. First, the mentality that the suffering or the obstacle shouldn't come. Second, we think that they are bad. And third, we think that they are insurmountable. So if we overcome this mentality, then no obstacle can displace our consciousness. So basically, adjusting our expectation is the key. Suffering Maharaj Parikshit, the news of a curse has come to him as a surprise, and his response is something completely. His response is actually very, very much spiritually in search at. Shows very much spiritual inclination. So Maharaj Parikshit understood the ways of world. He understood that he was not shocked by when he received this when he received the curse, and and because of that there was no frustration. We are not designed to control the world. If we have that understanding, then we are not surprised when things don't go our way. And then instead of focusing on external, if we focus on internal, then expectations are adjusted. Then we don't seek a perfect situation, but then we rather practice on perfect consciousness, which helps us give the perfect responses. And that is the example, that is what we learn from Maharaj Parikshit. Another point that we learn from Maharaj Parikshit is accept the situation. Maharaj Parikshit did not try to counter curse. Maharaj Parikshit did not try to beg pardon for the curse. Neither he actually presented in front of Shamika Rishi so that Shamika Rishi gets further embarrassed. In reality, the situation is completely opposite. If someone has done something wrong to us and we know, then even if we don't take the revenge, at least we try and go and announce everyone that at least I am innocent. I have not done any mistake. Maharaj Parikshit even didn't do that. So accepting the situation is the key. This material world is designed in a way which is full of suffering. Dukhalayam ashashvatam. When actually Brahma created this material world, after creation of the material, he sees so much suffering, and that this comes in Canto 3, Chapter 9, and there are Brahma, prayers of Brahma for creative energy. When he sees that, the people of this world, they will be constantly perplexed by hunger, thirst, cold, attacked by coughing weather, blasting summer, rain, strong sex urges, and infatigable anger. And Brahma says, I pity on them. I very much aggrieve for them. And then further in the prayer, Brahma says that, um, your devotees. So then he asked a question that how can your devotee come through this situation? And then Brahma says, your devotee can see you through the ears by the process of bona fide hearing, which is Srimadbhagavatam. And by thus, their heart can become cleansed. So you take a seat on the heart of their, or you take a seat on their heart, Dhunoti Samalam Krishna. So he comes, he sits within the heart and he does the cleansing. And then he glorifies the Lord that you are so merciful to your devotees that you manifest in yourself in the particular eternal form of transcendence, in which they can always think of you, which is Paramatma. So Maharaj Parikshit, rather than lamenting on the death, he graciously appreciated and utilized the moment. So acceptance is the key. And the last one is very important, is actually the aspiring for connection. And I've there are beautiful verses in 10th Canto where Mother Yashoda, she sees the universe in Krishna's mouth, and Mother Yashoda gets bewildered that what am I seeing? And he starts arguing herself that, oh, is it a dream? Is it an illusory creation? Or is it an external energy? And 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 in the purport of this verse, actually, Prabhupada explains that we should not try to understand the cause of suffering by argument of reasoning. Sometimes it is better just to accept. So when we go through suffering and when we try to find the cause of the suffering, it is a human nature that when we are going through, we try to find a cause, we analyze the problem. And Prabhupada says that it is not incorrect, but it is incomplete if it lacks the understanding or approach, if it lacks the understanding of Krishna, if it lacks the understanding that Krishna is the all causes, Sarva Karana Karanam. So Srila Prabhupada in the purport of the next verse also says, that is 10.8.42, that everyone should follow the mentality of renunciation. That means whatever wealth, opulence, whatever possession that one may have, that doesn't belong to us and belongs to Krishna. And uh, Parikshit Maharaj actually completely demonstrate that when he found out about the curse, he left everything. He left the kingdom. In fact, it will come in the later verse. He will say that the curse of Maharaj Parikshit, the curse from Shringi, has actually worked as an instrument for a detachment. Otherwise, he would not have left them. So, such a profound lesson There is so much that could be added and said, but I am way over time. Please accept my apologies. I will stop here. And if anyone would like to add or correct or have any questions, please feel free to share. Okay, we conclude our Srimad Bhagavatam reading here today. Granthrat Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Krishna willing, we will see you all tomorrow again for our glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you,
Thank you,
Mataji.
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.